Mr. McHenry.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your leadership on this subcommittee, and congratulations on your subcommittee chairmanship. You know, most of the great questions have been already asked, and it's tough for me to follow up Sean Duffy on anything. Do you want my time, Sean? No, but in all seriousness, this is a major issue. I mean, and Congress was legislating when a lawsuit was ongoing, and some of us had some questions about that. But price fixing, you know, this was Mr. Cantor to your question here, or to your comment rather. You know, what Sean was saying in terms of 99-cent Cokes at all the fast food restaurants, you could call that price fixing. You know, that's to be litigated by the courts. So in terms of representing your coalition, do you conceptually think that that the government setting prices is the right path?
What the government should do is get rid of price fixing here and get rid of these fees, and that's what this amendment says.
So wait a second, if I may,
than that.
reclaiming my time. So in order to eliminate price fixing, we need to have a regulator set the price. Yes or no?
Here, we need to have the regulator do something. And we thought they should say, no more price fixing, zero fees, set them on your own. They've instead been more generous to the banks and said, oh, charge more than that.
Okay. So we just had testimony from Mr. Seltzer that it cost, in essence, 14 cents for a check and 12 cents for the Fed's regulation for debit. Is that a fair assessment, Mr. Cantor?
It is. Unfortunately, that price difference doesn't make up for the fact that Dave Seltzer, Gus Prentice, and merchants like them get charged back for fraud transactions and don't get a payment guarantee. He's bought one on the checks and paid extra for that. Debit cards don't give it to us. The Fed found that, and our numbers find that.
All right. So, let's continue on this question here. And I've had merchants tell me prior to this debate, going back a number of years, that the cost of cash is a burden on small businesses. I mean, if you're especially at 7-Eleven or doing a lot of transactions, and so sticky fingers, taking money out of the till is in loss prevention is a cost, and so there is a cash cost. And so I just want to better understand that cash cost. I mean, because, look, this is a complicated issue, but you know, it's hard to get an accurate comparison. But Mr. Seltzer, can you discuss that cash cost?
Sure. We've calculated this, you know, within the last year or so, and as we calculate the cost of cash, we include all of the bank service charges we incur for depositing that cash and currency.
What about losses?
We include losses.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, and labor and everything else that goes into it. And so, you know, at the end of the day, we see our cost of cash being somewhere in the 0.2 to 0.25% range as we looked at it.
Okay.
Including everything. That's
so
probably an eighth of what we see for debit cards.
So as a merchant, you don't like the deal you're getting with debit, with credit. Okay. Why not simply say no to credit and debit?
We're happy to pay a competitive fee for debit or credit. The challenge we see that is every time we've had discussions with any of the networks, the answer we get back is you have to raise your interchange rate because we have to compete with the other networks.
I understand. But why not simply say no?
We'd be out of business.
You'd be out of business. So there is some value that they are producing for your business. Debit and credit is providing some value for you and your business.
That's right. And if there were a competitive market for this
product,
and prices were set accordingly, we would.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Cantor, you look eager to answer.
I'm very eager. There is a benefit. There's also a benefit to the banks because they save on the check processing. And what the courts have found is that Visa and MasterCard have market power. And they have found that there is not an ability for merchants to say no because of that market power.
Okay, then why not come to Congress and look for a legislative fix in order to reduce that market power? If it's an untoward market power, why not get a remedy in the courts? It appears that you just didn't like the remedy the courts was offering, And the simple way to do this is to simply have a regulator fix the price.
We-
Mr. Flum,
yeah,
my time's wrapping up, so I mean.
Yeah, they have gone to the courts time and again with this argument that a uniform interchange is price fixing, and every time the court has said, no, you need to have interchange, a uniform rate. That's what keeps the small merchants, the small banks, and low-income individuals in the system. If the banks set the rates themselves, then sure, some banks and some merchants would do fine, but the little guy would drop out of the system. So let's not confuse the benefits of a uniform interchange rate, which the courts have found every single time to be lawful, with the kind of price fixing that the government would impose under the Durbin Amendment.